Hello, and welcome to One Cool Thing. I'm Tom Brandt, this is Sasha Segan, and normally we tell you about one cool tech product that we've been reviewing here at PC Mag Labs in New York City, although today we're not going to do that. Today we actually have three cool products because today is a very special day. It is the day that Apple is expected to release their next iPhone. So what we thought we would do is tell you a little bit about some of the alternatives that you might consider in a few hours once Apple releases their new iPhone. So Sasha, what have we got here?
Yeah. Today is iPhone Day, and we expect to see the iPhone 8, the iPhone 8 Plus, and the iPhone X. And we actually have a story up that I wanted to point out about. This is our rumor story. You know, it says, what do we know about these? And oh, the ads changed. So before we started shooting this show, this rumor story was surrounded completely by ads for the LG V30. Because LG wants you to know that, first of all, their phone exists, and second of all, it is something that you should be considering if you're curious about the iPhone.
And we'll probably see that LG V30 ad up there in a few minutes or so, so we'll give it some time to come back. So we've got the LG V30, and we have two other phones here that you might also be considering. If you
Three others, actually.
Three others.
So we have the LG V30, we have the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, we have the Essential phone from a startup started by Android founder Andy Rubin, and we have my very own Samsung Galaxy S8, which is the phone that I have been recommending to people all year. And these are kind of the top of the line when it comes to iPhone competitors right now. They're all, you know, roughly, they all kind of float around the price of the iPhone line, especially if you assume that the iPhone X is going to cost $1,000. And they all offer the best and the most features that the Android world can deliver that are going to compete with these potential new iPhone features that we're going to see.
So before we talk about features, though, I think we should actually talk about price, because there are some interesting things going on with some of these phones, especially the Essential phone, where you can get a big discount versus carriers. So should we briefly mention price before we jump into features?
Yeah, so the new iPhones are likely going to start at $649, $749, and $999. That is what we think the opening prices of the three new iPhone models are going to be. And if we look at these phones fit pretty nicely into that area. The Galaxy S8 generally around $720. The Essential phone is $700 if you buy it unlocked, but a little over $400 if you get it with a Sprint leasing contract, and that makes the Essential phone a great deal if you go with that Sprint lease.
Right.
The Galaxy Note 8 is in the $930 range, so that kind of pushes it up towards the iPhone X. And the LG V30 isn't out yet, and we don't know how much it's going to cost, but I suspect it will be around $750, so around the iPhone 8 Plus price. So you see how price is not really one of the things you're deciding between an iPhone and these devices on.
Right, except for potentially the Essential phone.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, let's start then with the S8, since that's our current editor's choice. Why should you buy a Galaxy S8?
Why should you buy a Galaxy S8? I mean, the reasons that come to coming to buy a Galaxy S8, there's three dominant reasons. One of them is the screen. The Quad HD Super AMOLED screen on the Galaxy S8, and for that matter, the Galaxy Note 8, is even better, according to DisplayMate Labs. These are the best screens in the business right now. They're absolutely gorgeous, well-balanced, good white point, bright, colorful, great blacks. These are screens that they're probably better than you're going to see on the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, probably on par with what you're going to see on the iPhone X, although, of course, your Galaxy S8 is going to cost $200 less than the iPhone X will. The second reason you would want a Galaxy S8, although it's probably going to be about on par with the iPhones, the camera. The 12-megapixel camera on the Galaxy S8. Now, we anticipate that the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus cameras are going to be about as good.
Sure.
Very, very good cameras.
Sure.
The third reason that I don't think the iPhone is going to match is that this phone gets absolutely killer signal. That this phone, the Galaxy S8 and the Galaxy Note 8, have something called gigabit LTE in them. And that is a series of cellular technologies that mean that these phones recover from dead zones very quickly. They get really good signal in weak signal areas. They get the maximum possible speeds on various wireless networks. And they are anticipated to be better even than the new iPhones at that. Though, of course, Apple could always surprise us later today.
So we've got basically screen quality, camera quality, and it's just a great phone as far as
connectivity.
Connectivity-wise, as far as why you should get an S8. So let's move on to another phone. But before we do, I think we have a question or two from the audience.
Just to recap, I mean, with a lot of these prices, I mean, do you expect the iPhones to be comparable? Like, do you think that there are going to be iPhones that are on the same? Because everyone's talking about the $1,000 iPhone.
Right. As we said, we think there are going to be 3 iPhones announced today. And they are going to have starting prices of $649, $749, and $999. Yes, there will be one model that is released at $999. There will be 2 other models. They will be $649 and $749. So those will be comparable in price to these phones.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the S8 and the pricing covered. What about, let's move on to the Essential phone, since that actually is really brand new. It just came out about 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yeah. And you're going with the Essential phone. You're going with the Essential phone really for the elegance of design here. The Essential phone is this gorgeous mirrored slab of ceramic. And I mean, notice the bezel-less screen. And it's so bezel-less, there has to be a notch for the camera, and that is just like the iPhone X design that we've been hearing about.
Essentially, it is so bezel-less that there really is no gap between the top edge and the screen, which is normally where you'd find the speaker,
front-facing camera, and the
earpiece, things like that.
And so what you're getting here is very, very similar to the iPhone X design for a lot less money, where the iPhone X, with this very similar body, is anticipated to cost $999. The Essential phone is $699 or like $450.
Right. Now this is, however, the first phone that Essential has made. Are there any teething problems that we might want to wait for the next Essential phone? I mean, if you like this design, should you wait or should you buy this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of concerns with the Essential phone, and the first concern is that they have been putting through camera firmware updates at a ridiculously fast pace. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that they keep updating it. But the point is that the camera firmware started out really, really rocky. Not good at all. And they have been updating it really quickly. But you do definitely get a sense that this is a phone from a startup. And they are going to work their hardest to update and upgrade and, learn as they go along. But it isn't that kind of refined nth generation product that you get from Apple or Samsung. Sure. You need to be a little bit in the startup mentality here.
Okay. Well, let's then move on. Actually, sorry, do we have a question from the audience here?
Why did they remove the headphone jack from the Essential phone, or not have one in the first place? Like, what's the reasoning behind it?
The Essential phone is looking to the future, and they believe that USB-C audio offers more versatility and higher quality as a direct form of digital audio delivery. I mean, it's a legitimate viewpoint. Okay, I know a lot of people disagree, and you can feel free to disagree, but it is a legitimate argument that you can argue that going to all digital audio is the future.
I think that even just when you're on when you have tangled earbuds, every time you have the tangled wire for earbuds, you kind of realize, wow, digital audio is the future. But let's say that you do want it. Which one should you get with the headphone jack?
With a headphone jack? I mean, all of these other than the Essential phone have a headphone jack. The Essential phone is so far in the future that they have decided to cast off the ancient technology of headphones and proceed to the pure USB-C experience.
Okay.
So once more, startup mentality.
So if you're just joining us, we are talking about the high-end alternatives to the upcoming iPhone, which Apple is expected to release later today.
Upcoming iPhones,
I'm
three
sorry,
of them.
upcoming iPhones. We've already talked about the Essential phone, the Galaxy S8. Now let's move on to the LG V30.
Okay, the LG V30. So the LG V30 is a big screen phone that we have a 6-inch Quad HD screen here. We expect it to be, they still haven't announced the price. Okay, it's coming out probably in October.
Okay.
So they still haven't announced the price, but I anticipate it's going to be about the price of the iPhone 8 Plus, which is a 5.5-inch screen in about the same size body. So you get more screen for your body at the same price, higher resolution screen at the same price. But what really brings you to the LG V30 is the camera philosophy.
There's a camera philosophy?
Yes, absolutely. So the iPhones have dual cameras, and one of them is 1x and the other one is 2x. Okay, so it's a zoom-in philosophy.
Okay.
The V30 has dual cameras. One of them is regular, and the other one is wide angle. And yes, it does fisheye at the edges. Okay, but if you like the idea of capturing a scene and then capturing so much more, as opposed to zooming in, that's where you go for the V30, and that's where I feel it really differentiates itself.
So what kind of practical scene are we talking about? I mean, if you are taking shots of interesting things you see on vacation versus kids' soccer practice, like what's the phone camera best at?
Yeah, I mean, so very much like, if you take that kids' soccer practice idea, okay, you think about, okay, so with your standard framing, you get maybe your kid in the middle and like a couple of the defenders around them, right?
Right.
Well, on an iPhone or a Galaxy Note 8 with their 2x philosophy, that's if you want to zoom in on your kid. With the V30, it's if you want to capture the whole field and you want to see what's happening in the whole field.
Okay.
I took the V30 to a Renaissance fair where where I was filming, because you can do wide angle with video too, Morris dancing. And what happened was I got close enough so that the regular camera was looking at, a couple of the dancers, and then I would wide angle out to the whole line. And so it's a different way. Any photographer will tell you these are different lens options you have. And of course, this being a phone, you only get 2 out of the 3.
Right.
You
Right.
don't get all 3.
Okay, so basically, if you're looking to photograph a kid's soccer game or medieval dancing, definitely go with the LG V30 camera, although the S8 camera is also very good.
If you're looking to go wide,
Right.
That's what the V30 is about. And also, if you want a bigger screen, if you want the most screen possible for your dollar in this high end, I think the LG is going to deliver the lowest price per square inch of screen, basically.
Okay, so we've got one more phone to talk about. Before we do, let's take another question from the audience.
Just to clarify, how wide is the wide-angle lens?
I don't have a spec for that. I'm sorry. Maybe Pete can pull that up.
Okay,
there's one other thing I want to say about the V30.
Go ahead.
Okay, which is that T-Mobile is turning on a new network in rural and suburban areas, which is called its 600 megahertz network. And this is just starting to turn on. They just started to turn it on in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They just started to turn it on in Scarborough, Maine. And it's going to hopefully dramatically improve T-Mobile signal and coverage in those areas. So far, the V30 is the only phone that supports it.
Okay.
There will be more phones next year. There may even be more phones later this year. But so far, the S8 doesn't support it, the Note 8 doesn't support it, the Essential doesn't support it. The new iPhones are probably not going to support it. If you want that extra T-Mobile coverage that's going to be expanding, V30, that's the way to go.
And what about if you are a city dweller or you travel frequently between cities, either on the interstate or in airports? What's going to be the best guts for the phone that's going to provide the best
So
coverage?
600 is not going to have any effect in cities.
Okay.
They're not going to be doing it in cities. It's a rural coverage play. But if you are a city dweller, you want something with, as I said, gigabit LTE.
Okay.
Gigabit LTE is a series of technologies which maximize the speed and capacity of the network. And the S8 has it, the V30 has it, the Note 8 has it, the Essential does not have it. The iPhones do not have it.
Okay. Let's then move on to our final phone that we are offering up as a competitor to the upcoming rumored iPhone 8 and iPhone X, and that is the Galaxy Note 8.
Yes, the Galaxy Note 8. And this is at the moment the absolute maximum that the Android world has to offer. You know, what we have here is what DisplayMate Labs has said is the best screen in the universe, which is just incredible quality AMOLED screen at 6.3 inches. We have dual cameras, one of which is a 2x zoom. We have your gigabit LTE. We have a headphone jack. And we have, of course, what I've always thought is the real controlling reason to buy a Note, the pen.
Ah, yes, the pen, right.
Yes. And the pen lets you scribble on the screen. It lets you annotate screenshots. It lets you make drawings. It lets you take notes. It lets you it lets you sign documents. You know, somebody could email you something you need to sign. You sign it with the pen. You send it back.
So now, but the thing with the iPhone is, didn't that revolutionize the whole touch, the way that we interact with small computers by touching them? So you don't need pens anymore.
Well, the vast majority of devices are not sold with pens, but pens are a niche. Pens are especially for people who think in pictures. You know, people who like to draw what they think. And I know a lot of those people. I know a lot of artists. I know a lot of kids who think in images. And in that case, the pen becomes a great way for them to express and communicate and even just note their own thoughts.
Right, and so that's the Note 8. And we should note also with the Note 8, this is a replacement for the Note 7.
Which exploded.
The infamous
this does not
Note
explode.
7.
This does not explode.
So let's take another question from the audience here after we've talked. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think the Note 8 is overpriced?
I mean, what does that even mean, you know? Would I like it to be... Okay, so, you know, in an ideal world, I think that the Galaxy S8 Plus should not exist. I think that the Galaxy S8 Plus is kind of a bogus product, and I think there should be an S8 and a Note 8, and the S8 should cost $750, and the Note 8 should cost $850. Instead, they have three models: the S8, the S8 Plus, and the Note 8, and they're, you know, $720, $820, and $920. I mean, I don't know.
So in an ideal world, what you're saying is maybe yes, it's overpriced. Relative to everything else, though, it sounds like this is kind of in the realm of what you pay for a large phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's my number one minus on this in the review was that it's expensive. But Apple is pushing up the price of high-end devices, as we're going to see with the $999 iPhone X.
Right.
And this is still less expensive than that. So if you look at a trend in the industry, you know, Samsung is just going with the trend. But yeah, I mean, thinking about it, ultimately, yes, it should cost $850, not $930. But I wouldn't cause that particular difference as a reason to get this.
Right.
As a reason not to get this.
Basically, if you think it's overpriced, go tell your neighbors not to buy it. Don't go tell Samsung not to sell it at at that price.
Looks like
so go ahead and one other question.
Do you think that the latest Pixel phones stack up well with these models that you've been showing up?
That's true. Yeah. Why don't we have a Pixel phone here?
Because there are new Pixel phones coming out next month. Yeah. Don't buy a Pixel right now. The Pixels, there's new Pixels coming out on October 5th. We don't know what they consist of. There are the usual conflicting rumors. They'll probably be good. We haven't seen them. I would love to know what's in them. You know, there's a lot of rumors out there. Some
Google's
of the rumors
buying some technology.
Some of the rumors are wishful thinking.
Yep.
You know, you can't tell which ones are wishful thinking. But if you are into that pure Google experience, it might behoove you to wait until October 5th and see what Google deploys on October 5th. But I would not buy the current Pixel phones right now.
And the Essential is very close to the pure Google experience because it's founded by it started by the founder of Android.
Right.
So that's another alternative.
But it will be interesting to see what Google has on tap come October 5th. And I think that when October 5th comes by, you will have all of the marquee options out there.
Let's quickly, we have time for some more questions, but let's quickly talk about battery life. We didn't talk about battery life for these phones. What's the best in terms of battery life?
The reason we didn't talk about battery life, in part, is because I have not tested the battery life of the V30, because this is a pre-production V30 with non-optimized software, and there are obvious things wrong in the software, including trouble with the camera firmware, and so I know that any battery test that I do on this V30 will be invalid, and I would just have to retest it next month with the final model.
So exclude the V30 then.
Exclude the V30. The best battery of this particular bunch, I would say, the Essential I've been getting really inconsistent battery results with. They've been improving with time with all of their ridiculously fast firmware updates.
Right.
I think at first testing, I would say it's actually the S8. The Note 8 has a slightly smaller battery than I expected. It's a little bit behind the S8, I think, when it comes to overall battery life, surprisingly. The Essential, as I said, the results I've been getting have been fluctuating with all the firmware updates.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can say anecdotally that if you are upgrading from an older phone, I've used the S8 briefly, and it has amazing battery life.
It's gotten
it is incredible.
Samsung's approach to battery has just gotten much, much better over the past 2 years.
Looks like we have maybe 1 or 2 more questions from the audience.
Do we have any news on the Huawei P10? Are we even going to get that?
No, we don't. We only cover phones that will be released in the United States. Huawei does not release its P series phones in the United States. Therefore, we do not cover them at the US version of PC Mag. However, we have a guy in the UK who runs uk.pcmag.com. He will be reviewing and writing about Huawei's latest releases on uk.pcmag.com in a country where Huawei is very popular. And I look forward to seeing what Tom Newton thinks of it.
Yeah, likewise. Huawei really is doing incredible things, especially on the lower end of the price scale, because they have some phones that would really be considered high end except for their price.
But outside the U.S.
But yeah, they're not sold
That's the thing,
here.
and including at the high end. I mean, I know a lot of people who love the Mate 9.
I actually like the Honor series, which is their more youthful.
But their market share here in the United States is a rounding error. So since we have a lot of phones to cover, we focus on the ones that we can actually adequately test in our labs on our networks. It looks like we have another question.
Are any more Project Fi compatible phones coming out this year?
Yes, absolutely. So, of course, we expect the Pixels to be Project Fi compatible because that's kind of Google's thing. It's Google's carrier.
Right, so Project Fi basically is a Google-specific wireless network that allows you to bring a very small set of compatible phones to Google's network, and in some ways it can be a great deal, especially if you travel internationally, because data and voice is included in international when you travel internationally. There are some other benefits to the carrier.
So
as well.
those two new Pixel phones that are coming out on October 5th, those will certainly be Project Fi compatible. However, also there are widespread, reliable rumors, no official announcement, but these are rumors from people from places that I feel confident in, that the Moto X4 will be Project Fi compatible. And that is just a really nice mid-range phone, dual cameras, solid performance on a mid-range processor. It's going to be less expensive than the Pixels. I think once they get their act together to properly announce it, the Moto X4 is going to be a really good option for Project Fi users who don't want to invest all the way up in a Pixel and think that the old Nexus 5X is just way too old at this point.
Many people go to Project Fi to save money or to get more reliable service, and so that applies to the phone as well.
Yeah, yeah.
What time is that? This year or next year? Or
I'm surprised they haven't said it yet. Like, I feel like this is an announcement that should have happened yesterday. I don't understand what's holding them up. Soon. Mm-hmm.
Another question. Oh, we're good. Okay, so before we go, Sasha, could you briefly talk about what we're going to do as far as letting you know what the latest iPhone is later today?
Yeah, so we are all hands on deck when it comes to Apple later today. We are ordering lunch into the office. No one is permitted to leave. We are sealing the doors and windows. Okay.
Similar to what Weather Channel did for Hurricane Irma.
Yeah,
actually.
nobody in, nobody out. our editor-in-chief, my boss, Dan Costa, is in the room in Steve Jobs Theater at Apple Park, possibly right now, experiencing the iPhone launch. But what we'll be doing to provide you comprehensive coverage is we are going to be slicing and dicing the event to give you highlights throughout the event in video and images. Shortly after the event, we will be back here on Facebook giving you a rundown of what each of our product experts think of the 3 iPhones, the new Apple Watch, and or the Apple TV, if all 5 of those things come out. So we'll be back on
Fingers
Facebook.
crossed.
Yep. Back on Facebook around 3 p.m. Eastern with all of that information. And then, of course, on PCMag.com and on PCMag's Facebook page, we are going to be pushing out to you optimized TLDR versions of what is sure to be 2 hours of various Apple executives droning on about how they're making the greatest thing since sliced bread.
So that is all coming up later. Be sure to check back. Right now it's just after 7 a.m. Pacific time, so the event starts in just under 3 hours. This has been one cool thing, but really 4 cool things that you should think about before you go into your Apple day. I'm Tom Brand, this is Sasha Siegan. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with another one cool thing.